get started then, everyone. So this is the presentation I'm going to be giving in New Orleans next Thursday at PrideCon. It's actually an event that Mark Nathan spoke at last year. He was on a panel, I think, about social media. So I used to go to a lot of concerts in New Orleans. You guys have probably seen the Voodoo Fest posters above my desk in the PMO over there. So this is something I'm really passionate about, and I wanted to kind of bring my passions together with technology and music. So let's go ahead and hop into this. The idea is we're going to see how mobile technology in 2013 and beyond is really going to make going to concerts amazing. So this is what I'm going to talk about. First, why am I even talking to you? Am I qualified in the slightest to talk about music and technology? I think I am, but I need to convince you of it first. The next thing I'll tell you about is what inspired me to actually give this. It's actually a project that we did at Chi One in Houston. The next thing I want to talk about is why is mobile uniquely capable of making a concert amazing. Okay, so what is different besides like a laptop or a mobile phone? Why is mobile so uniquely great? The next thing is I ran a website in New Orleans in the early 2000s called NOLA Ed, the New Orleans Electronica Digest, and I learned a lot about kind of music and technology and what people expect from each of those. So there are two lessons that I want to talk about there. Then I want to look kind of the past 10 years of mobile, because so much has happened since the time I started college to now, when we're having these very converged devices. It was nothing like that back in the early 2000s. And then really, since I have an audience of people here that I think are musically inclined, some people DJ, some people actually throw events, some people are just fans and they love live music. So how is mobile going to help each of those audiences? And then when I tell you how it's going to help each of those audiences, I want to prognosticate and look into the future here, and we're going to take a little trip, and it's going to be my Voodoo Fest experience in 2013. So we're going to start at the beginning of the day, actually leading up to it, all the way through the festival, and we're going to wrap by showing kind of what happens the week after the festival. And then finally, I want to talk about where's the opportunity. So it's kind of a call to action here. We have a whole bunch of go-getters in the audience, and I want to see if I paint the vision for you, and I tell you where there are some battles to be won. Let's see if we can go out there and create the solutions. So first, why me? Why me up here? So there are some unique things about me that I'll tell you about. One, I'm a child of a parrot head. So I grew up going to Jimmy Buffett concerts. One of my first memories was actually at a Willie Nelson concert in Hawaii. So I've grown up around this. Live music is something I'm very passionate about. And when I moved to New Orleans in the early 2000s, when I was a prospective student, I went to this now defunct club on Rampart Street called the Funky Butt. And aside from a unique name, it was also just an amazing jazz venue. So I remember it was April of 2000, I'm sitting in this really smoky room, and there were three musicians basically in the corner of this room. And one was this 70-year-old lady who was doing the vocals. There was another guy on the piano, and then a guy on the drums. And this guy who was hosting me as a prospective student, he's like, you have to see what New Orleans culture is really all about. And I didn't like jazz before this night, but I went to the Funky Butt, and I've been a jazz fan ever since. The second thing that really got me to New Orleans was what you see over there to the right. That's a shot I took back in 2003 at the State Palace Theater, also now defunct, unfortunately, post-Katrina. This was the rave mecca of the Southeast United States. Nothing came close in Atlanta or Houston or anywhere else. I mean, this was the place to go if you were a fan of electronic music or just generally the rave, quote unquote. Now, the reason I came to New Orleans originally was to study computer science at Tulane University, and so I learned a lot about desktop applications back then, but I was able to leverage a lot of that knowledge later in my career, both in the Air Force, which you see here. I was a BlackBerry guy back then. I had to actually dole out BlackBerries to officers on base and troubleshoot them when they went down. So a couple of weeks ago when the Bez went down kind of worldwide, I kind of snickered because I thought of all the trouble my former colleagues must be going through. So now that you know a little bit about me, why did I want to give this talk today? So we built this app at Chi One called Deli Radio, and a couple of guys from Berkeley, California came to us, and they said, you know what, we've talked to all the software development shops in Silicon Valley, but we think you guys have something unique you can bring to the table. Basically, they wanted to fill the void that was left when MySpace went away, but in a mobile sense. So if you remember MySpace back in 2005, 2006, it would allow artists to upload their music for free. You were basically giving a royalty-free license, and then anyone could stream that, and it was a great way to publicize yourself as a band or a DJ. When Facebook kind of won the social battles, there was really no person to come in there and fill that void. Well, Deli wanted to do that, and they wanted to do it in a mobile sense. So they wanted an iPhone app that was location aware, to where if you're sitting in New Orleans and you say, hey, crunch this station, create me a radio station of local artists, they could do that on the fly. So the unique thing about this was it was really inspiring people to get out and see live music. Okay, they give away the app for free, they give away the music for free. Where they make their money is through t-shirt sales, ticket sales, and beer sales. So kind of a unique business model. So the last thing I want to talk about here is there's so much opportunity in the mobile space right now. I mean, we have only scratched the surface. This is what gets me out of bed in the morning, seeing how we can just really leverage mobile. Now, why is mobile so great for live music? Well, there's a couple of things, really three, that I want to highlight here today. And this is why I think if you go to a concert in 2013, you'll want to have the state-of-the-art phone with you. The first is you want to capture the moment. So there are all these sensors, cameras, all these, accelerometers in the latest mobile devices today, and that can capture data whether you realize it's being captured or not. So you don't have to be actively doing something with your phone to really reap some benefit from it. The next is you can share the moment. So we have this really sensor-packed device on your hip or in your pocket, but then it's also connected to the internet. So no matter where you are in City Park or you're at a concert at Reliance Stadium in Houston, wherever it is, you're connected to the world and you can actually share what you're experiencing at that very moment. And the final thing is, yeah, so it's great, you can take a picture of something, you can share it on Facebook, but what I want to focus on is how can it enhance the moment when you're actually at a concert, okay? What would make having a phone in your pocket a value add if you're a music fan? Now, I talked at the beginning about this website I ran, the New Orleans Electronica Digest. This was back before blog was a word. So it was a monthly publication, but it was essentially a blog. And what we really were able to identify, me and a couple of friends, that people crave music information. There's just this dearth of information that people, they want to go out and say, hey, what are the upcoming shows? What are the new CDs coming out? Because there were CDs back then. This was 2001. It wasn't on iTunes. They want to be able to learn about their favorite artists, so maybe read interviews. And there was nothing like that really in the Southeast United States at the time, so we went out and interviewed DJs when they would come to town. We provided the information that people wanted. The next thing was, I remember going to the House of Blues in the French Quarter back in 2002. I had my digital camera, it was this really clunky Olympus one, and I wanted to take photos for our website. But there was a no photo policy at the House of Blues. So over time, I've seen those sorts of policies be relaxed, because if you have an iPhone on your hip, what are they going to tell you when you go through security? You can't bring your cell phone in the gate. Over time, you have to evolve, even if you're running a venue, and realize, okay, is it really a harm, or is it really devaluing this show if people are snapping photos or shooting some video clips in it? The answer is probably no, right? I mean, it just makes people have a really good time. They're able to share those things with their friends. They're not really pirating an experience and then blasting it out to the broader world. So technology really does have the power to change people's beliefs and their behavior. So let's take a look back at what mobile was like 2000, 2001. So show of hands, who had a phone like this? All right, pretty much everyone, right? Nokia was the 800-pound gorilla in the mobile space, late 90s, early 2000s. I remember going to my first rave in New Orleans, and basically I had a utility belt. It looked like Batman. So I had a digital camera on there, I had a holster for my Nokia phone, I had a Palm Pilot on there, I literally looked like Batman. And I needed all those discrete devices to be able to accomplish the things I wanted to do when I went out to a show. If I wanted to have an interview with a DJ, I actually had to have one of those micro-cassette voice recorders. Then when I got it back to my dorm room, I had to hook that up to a computer and then do a line in and play it back in real time to actually get that digitized where I could listen to it over and over to transcribe it. If you recall, there wasn't much in the way of communication besides voice and SMS back then. There was some data plans, but it was GPRS typically, very slow. We're talking like sub-dial-up speeds here. So if I'm a technology user, I'm probably not going to be paying for a data plan for something that is just frustrating to use. Now let's fast forward 5 years beyond that to about 2006. And So this was state-of-the-art back then, a Palm Trio. I remember just being like a kid in a candy shop when mine came in the mail back in 2006. And this really represented the first convergence of devices. So yeah, it could take pictures, it could take videos, but it kind of did a shitty job at all of those things. Yeah, I mean, it was really bad, sub-VGA quality. So you could just go to a show with a Trio in your pocket, but if you really wanted to have any sort of valuable collateral once you exited, like pictures and videos, you should probably bring one of those standalone point-and-shoot cameras. Now, 2006 also saw the launch of Twitter, and this was pretty unique, right? This allowed people to not just text point-to-point, or maybe with a small group of users, but you could set up and from your mobile device via SMS, blast out to the world and kind of have a global audience. And 2006, it was expensive back then, but data plans started to exist. I remember having a 3G data plan from Sprint, and paying probably about $60 a month for it. So it was really expensive, but there was something magical about being in the middle of a concert and being able to like pull up information about the artists on stage. So I was willing to pay for that back then, and now you see a lot of people are willing to have that today. So let's talk about today. So there's an iPhone 4S. Some of you have them in your pockets right now. This, for me, was like the all-in-one device realized, okay? I don't bring my point-and-shoot camera with me to a concert anymore. I can have HD video from that. I can get really high-resolution images. I can have a voice recorder app on the device, so if I need to do an interview with a DJ, unfortunately I don't do that anymore today, but if I wanted to, I could, and it could be something as thin as that. Specialized mobile platforms like Instagram or sound tracking, even Turntable FM, these are kind of micro communities that, yeah, there are Twitters, there's Facebook, there's Google+, but if you want to talk to a very specific audience and kind of curate who you're speaking to, those specialized mobile networks which exist today allow you to do that. Digital music is the norm now, right? I remember going to a Virgin record stores or Tower record stores in New Orleans and buying the new trance CDs on the weekend when I was in college. But now I can get a subscription to Spotify, and I don't even have to worry about downloading music anymore, right? It kind of makes piracy obsolete, I think is the tagline that Spotify uses, and I kind of feel that way. And finally, 3G data plans are both common and affordable. Show of hands, who has a data plan on their phone? Okay, so pretty much everyone in the room, right? I think that's fairly commonplace. Now, this is where it's going to get a little dicier. We're going to go into the future. It's kind of naive to, I think, go anywhere beyond 2 years into the future. I think 2 years is kind of the sweet spot. You can see kind of what's in the pipeline coming out of China as far as chips being created. But let's talk about what I see 2 years from now in the mobile space. So, if I had to prognosticate and say these are the realities, the first would be ubiquitous and reliable 4G connections. So who's ever tried to go to a sporting event, maybe in Reliance or in the Superdome, and tried to update Facebook? Was it an exercise in frustration, perhaps, and that you couldn't actually get a signal? You've got 5 bars on your device there, but you can't actually get out to the outside world. It's because you have 80,000 people all in one place trying to get on the internet, and it just crumbles. The backhaul for AT&T or Verizon just doesn't work. The backhaul support in the future, I'm prognosticating to be a lot better, right? I remember from 2007 to 2009, then 2009 to 2011, it's gotten better with 3G, and I think the bandwidth that'll be available over 4G will be able to shoulder some of that burden. The next thing is Wi-Fi at concert venues. So let's say we do have 200,000 people in Grant Park in Chicago, and they're there for Lollapalooza, and they're all trying to access the internet and upload HD video to YouTube. It's still going to saturate even the most modern of high-speed networks. But if you have Wi-Fi in that park, or a city park here in New Orleans, what it allows you to do is offload a lot of that heavy uploading and downloading. I remember at Jazz Fest 2 years ago, I couldn't get a Facebook update out. Then last year when I went to Jazz Fest, I was literally pushing up video because AT&T had blanketed the venue with Wi-Fi. So no one was on 3G. If you had a Wi-Fi radio on your device, you could use Wi-Fi, and that was preferable. The next thing is HD video cameras on devices. So I remember I Googled this back in probably 2003. I wanted to see if anyone had taken video footage at the very first rave I went to at the State Palace Theater. And someone had. And it was about the size of a postage stamp. It was super grainy, but it was like, wow, looking through this little kind of pinhole towards the past. If my brother now goes to his first party at college, you know, he's got an iPhone in his pocket and he can literally get 1080p video of this really kind of formative experiences in his life, and then 20 years from now look back at that. I think that's awesome, and I think we're going to see pretty much HD 1080p video recording to be standard issue on whatever device you choose to carry. The next thing is enhanced GPS and location capabilities. So who knew in this room that in the most recent iPhone, not only does it have GPS, but it also leverages the Russian satellite network? Anyone know that? Kelsey? Yeah? You? So it's called GLONASS, G-L-O-N-A-S-S, I think, GLONASS. Don't hold me to that, but basically, if you can't get a GPS signal, there's possibility you can hit one of those 26 Russian satellites in space to actually pinpoint where you are. So yeah, it'll default to GPS, but then it can back up with some of these enhanced location capabilities. I think we're going to see that on a lot more devices too. So when you're standing in City Park and you're going between stages at a music festival, you don't have to worry about an oak tree blocking the satellite signal. You have the capability to either, asynchronously locate you from a cell tower or use GPS. The next thing is longer battery life. So I have throttled my use of a mobile device at a concert before, especially if it's an all-day affair, because I know by about 6 p.m. I'll be totally out of juice. That was worse on the iPhone 3G, I think, than some of our modern mobile devices. With my Trio, it was laughable. I couldn't go more than 6 hours away from a charger. I had one in my car, and at my desk, and in the bathroom. No matter where I was, I would try to plug in my phone there. Now I can get through an entire day without charging my device, and I think that'll only increase in longevity. Now, the last piece here has gotten a lot of press recently. NFC, near-field communication, allows you to basically use your phone as a mobile wallet, but I think we're only at the surface of what you can do with NFC, to where you must be present to win, right? You must actually swipe your device over some sort of sensor to confirm that you were in a certain place at a certain time. I think we're going to see a lot of neat stuff done with that beyond just mobile payments. And the last thing I want to highlight here in mobile tech 2 years from now is heavy lifting done server side. So pretty much everything else I've talked about here is specific to the device. But what's really happening in the technology world today is you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. You can have that kind of thin client vision that was originally come up with in the 80s and 90s, to where it's like a Chromebook, right? It's pretty underpowered. That's because all the heavy lifting is done in the cloud at Google servers or Amazon servers or whatever. So I think we'll see future mobile apps try to leverage that even more, and we'll see some really interesting stuff done. So now that we've talked about what it's likely to be like, the mobile landscape, the technology landscape in 2 years, why would me as a musician, why would me as a concert promoter, or why would me as a music aficionado love to have that new fangled device in my pocket? So let's talk first about fans, because I think pretty much everyone in the room can consider themselves a music fan. There are a few things here. One, it allows you to relive the moment. Now, if I had the ability to actually go out and pay for a recording of the last 3 concerts I went to, I would do that, right? I'd pay $10 for it because it's unique and it's special to me because I was there and I got to witness it in person, and now I can relive that over and over. Better yet, if I could get a video recording of that concert, man, how cool would that be to show my children in a decade? Yeah, I've got a phone, I can record from the audience, but if I had the promoter maybe set up with a camera crew on stage and then I could buy access to that later on, I think a lot of people would do that. I would. The next thing is connecting with other fans. So this is 3-pronged. One, I want to talk about the event coming up before it actually occurs. I get excited, connecting with other fans. And then when I actually get in the concert venue, I want to be able to have that back channel. If those of you plugged into tech here, you probably hear about the Twitter back channel at South by Southwest, right? So when there's a keynote address going on, people are twittering away there, tweeting away, saying, hey, Mark Zuckerberg's an idiot. Can you believe he just said that? Wow, he looks really nervous up there. Why is he doing that? So this is real-time collaboration with people who are in a venue that allows them to connect and talk without actually speaking. The next thing is really conversing with the audience and the fans after the event is over. So you want to see what other pictures people took at the event. Maybe you want to hear what everyone's favorite song was during a performance. So you need to create that community before, persist it through the event, and then continue it afterwards. And the final thing here is connecting with artists. So I think Twitter's done a pretty good job of this, to where if you follow your favorite musician on Twitter and they're coming through your town, there's a possibility you could say, hey, Paul Van Dyke, glad you're in Houston tonight. Can't wait to see you. And sometimes you'll get a response. I did this with Roger Sanchez about 3 weeks ago. Said, hey, welcome to Houston. He was like, hey, thanks, Justin. Can't wait for the show tonight. So that's kind of cool, right? That here's someone that you're paying 20 bucks to go see, but they care enough about you as a fan to actually connect with you. Now, let's talk about the artists. So I talked to you about, yeah, it's cool for fans, but why would an artist care that you're carrying a mobile device in your pocket? So the first thing is, if they want to have a long-lasting career, they really need to build the brand. Okay, so the Rolling Stones have done very well at building the brand, right? I can still drive around today and see the tongue logo on the back of people's cars. They get branding, and they've done it very well. With branding comes also just, yeah, you connect with your fans, but you really want to please your fans and delight your fans to where when they leave a show, they're like, man, that was awesome. I can't believe I just saw Radiohead and they killed it here. Right? I mean, if you go to a great concert, that sticks with you. It's like a spiritual experience. And the final thing, let's not gloss over making money. Okay, as an artist, unless you're a starving artist, you're in it to win it, and you're in it to make bucks. And whether that's selling T-shirts at your on your tour stops, whether that's selling your latest CD or selling a an album on iTunes, you want to make money. And if you can leverage your mobile app in that fan's pocket, you can actually make more money. Now, the last thing I'd like to talk about here are the promoters. And what's interesting was I saw a documentary a couple of weeks ago profiling the Electric Daisy Carnival. Has anyone heard of the Electric Daisy Carnival? So the Electric Daisy Carnival has the unique honor of being the largest rave ever thrown in the United States of America. And it's an annual affair. It started in Los Angeles back in 2001, I believe. And there are different Electric Daisy Carnival events around the entire country. But the biggest one is in the Coliseum, there where they had the Olympics in Los Angeles. And in 2009, they decided we're going to make a documentary about everything leading up to this, during the event and after the event. And what was really cool to me was the promoter for this Electric Daisy Carnival event, he was so concerned with leaving a legacy. He wanted to pay attention to every detail, from the circus acts that they had in front of the stage, to the flamethrowers, to the giant beach balls, which would be dispersed throughout the entire event. I mean, this guy had it down to, what sort of Coca-Cola would be served at each vending machine. I mean, it was so detail-oriented, and that's because, yeah, he wants to make money, he wants to grow his business, but he really wants to leave a legacy. He will put in the extra time needed to be able to leave that legacy. And if you have a direct line of access to a fan, a potential paying customer, a guy who could come to a concert again, and you can cultivate that relationship, that allows you to actually build your brand and leave a legacy and delight the customer. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there for promoters as well. So this is I think the most entertaining part of the presentation today. So now that we've talked about, yeah, it's good for artists and fans and promoters, that's great. And we got to take a look back at mobile history and really clunky Nokia phones from the turn of the millennium there. Let's think about what going to Voodoo Fest in 2013 would be like. So since the audience I'll be presenting to next Thursday actually is on the Voodoo Fest ground, so they're going to know what this is. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, it is a giant 3-day festival in New Orleans in City Park that takes place over about 5 stages. There are rock bands, rap groups, DJs, circus acts. I mean, it's like a carnival, essentially. This year headlining it is Snoop Dogg. We've got a lot of international DJs. I think they've got Blink 182. So this has been going on since '99 was the first year, and I've had the pleasure of going to about 6 of them so far. So I know a lot about this. I'm a big fan of the franchise. So let's talk about what it would be like 2 years from now. So the first thing that happens, the week before, I go out and I download the Voodoo app. Okay? So in the Voodoo app, it's got a map of the grounds. I can see, on the music category here, what the different acts are playing and the time slots, all of those things. But in the 2013 version of this app, we're gonna have micro social networks for each of these stages. So if I want to go to Les Fleurs here, right, and that's the dance area, and they're going to have all the DJs there. Maybe I sign up for that social network because maybe I don't really care about what's going on over here at the LOA stage. So I joined the Les Fleurs network, and I start talking about, man, it's great that John Digweed's here this year. I love that guy. I would go fly anywhere in the country to see him. It's cool that he's in New Orleans. So I've joined the Dance Tent social network, and now it's the day of the event. So I'm out at City Park, And ignore that this is actually a bank app here. The point I'm trying to portray is that there's a heat map on the screen, okay? And what this heat map is representing is clusters of fans. So, navigating a festival atmosphere, for those of you who have done it before, can be problematic if all the people are trying to go to a single stage at the same time. You get, kind of bunched up and you end up missing half the performance. So let's say it's early in the day here at Voodoo Festival and I want to go to a stage that doesn't have a lot of traffic there because I want to get up close and see the band in person. So I decide to choose maybe a local music stage. Now, as I'm walking over to the local music stage, I see this cow. And I don't mean the moo kind, I mean the cell on wheels to allow some additional bandwidth and backhaul for all those people. But I think we're going to have 200,000 people here at Voodoo Festival this day, and they're all carrying these high-speed data devices of the future, so I want to make sure that I have enough cellular capacity to handle them. So I walk past this cow, and I'm going over to see the local music stage. And it's cool, they've got some jazz band, and I like jazz, that's fine. But what's great is that Master P has gone bankrupt the year before, and now he's doing a reunion tour to try to get some money to pay his bills. Okay, so he's headlining the main stage later this evening, but as part of a sweepstakes that the Voodoo Festival promoters are putting on, at the main stage they have these NFC terminals set up, and if you go and wave your NFC-capable device over one of these terminals, you'll be entered to actually meet Master P later that evening before his performance. So kind of go, kick it with Master P, that's cool. I was a No Limit Records fan in the 90s, so I'd love to meet the guy, despite the fact he went bankrupt. So I enter to win, I swipe my iPhone or wave my iPhone over the NFC terminal, and then I realize, you know what, I'm pretty hungry. I forgot to eat breakfast. So I know there is the concession village around the corner there, but it's lunchtime, and man, those lines are going to be long. I don't want to stand in line for an hour. So I fire up my Voodoo app again, and this year, for the first time, they've got this smart lane, this smart window. Okay, so I can actually place an order for my shrimp po' boy and my hurricane, because I'm looking to get loosened up pretty early in the day. And so I'm going to have my shrimp po' boy and my hurricane. And what I do is I place an order for each of these. I've already got my payment information tied to the Voodoo app because that's how I bought my ticket this year. And they're like, okay, Justin will be available for pickup in 15 minutes. Just go to the smart window. So, okay, I do that. I chow down on my shrimp po' boy and I get about halfway through my hurricane. And then the Google Latitude application that I had set up, a geofence around, it alerts me that my friend Mark, who was my roommate freshman year of college, he's nearby. I didn't know he was coming to Voodoo Fest, but that's kind of cool. The Google Latitude let me know. So I use the compass on my device and say, okay, the vector is that way, and I go over there, and serendipitous, there's Mark and Justin talking again. We haven't talked in a decade. So we shoot the breeze for a little while, and it turns out he's living in Chicago now, and I'm in Houston. So we talk about our lives. And then I'm like, okay, cool, Mark, it's been good seeing you. Trombone Shorty's playing over this other stage, and I love Trombone Shorty, so I gotta go have to see a little bit of his performance. So Trombone Shorty, he's in a tent, and in this specific tent, they're doing something new this year to where within the Voodoo app, they will allow you to be in the audience and open up the app and do a live video stream to where you're shooting the stage, and behind Trombone Shorty is this video wall of all these fan feeds, okay? So it's like all these different points of view of what the stage looks like. And yeah, you can see it behind the stage, but it's also being broadcast on the Voodoo Music Experience website. So it's kind of cool, right? We're seeing what it looks like from stage left and stage right and stage back and barely peeking in the tent, and we're getting all these different perspectives. Now, as I'm hearing the last song of the Trombone Shorty performance, I can't believe it. I get the push notification that I've won the chance to meet Master P. Okay, so my childhood dream realized, and what's unique is, Master P is less third ward now. He's a little bit more Connecticut, as you can see. I guess he got an advance on his record label deal, so he's doing his reunion tour now. He's well dressed and he's got a nice watch on. So I talked to Master P about how much I loved his True album, the first one, but the second one was not so good. And then the I'm Bout It movie was actually really good and very real to the street. And me as a 15-year-old white kid in the suburbs, I really loved it, and I would blast it really loud in my car. So I wish him well on his performance later that evening. And then I'm really excited because we're getting close to the end of the evening now when all the big acts go on. So the one I'm really excited about seeing is John Digweed. And they're doing some really cool things in the dance tent this year. The first of which is John Digweed has launched this Mix Slicer app. And this Mix Slicer app allows you to launch it and be able to rate each of the songs in real time and have it kind of time-stamped so you know when a new track is being mixed in. And so you don't really have to guess what the newest remix that only John Digweed has his hands on. So I can rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And maybe I've got something like this. This is the Turntable FM app that's out today, but maybe this Mix Slicer app has something similar to where I can see what's the general mood of what the audience is thinking about this track. Is it, you know, kind of rocking it out, or is this not so good, kind of a filler track? And within the Orbital app, they have a link out to a new app called the Your Encore app. Okay, that's the icon for it down there. This is not real, but it will be in 2 years. So Your Encore, what it allows you to do for select musical performances that you go to, you get to help influence what the artist encores with. So there is a specific song in the Orbital discography called Halcyon, On and On. And if you ever saw Mortal Kombat, the movie back in '94, it's the last song they're playing as the credits roll. It's very melodic. It sends chills down your spine anytime you listen to it. So I launched the Your Encore app, and I vote for Halcyon. And I'm really hopeful that the people in the audience vote for that as well. I won't know for about another hour. And the last thing I do, within the Orbital app, I switch back to that, and they're also doing something similar to what they were doing in the Trombone Shorty tent, to where in the Trombone Shorty tent, I could actually have the broadcast video going from my phone to the video screen, but in the Orbital stage, it's reversed. So they've got professional videographers up on stage, and they're piping live video to those fans in the audience that want to actually see what he's doing on the turntables, twiddling the knobs, as it were. So I can see what Phil Hartnell is doing right up close, because that's in stunning HD quality, and I've got it on my iPhone 6 at this time. So I'm just loving this. I can see what he's doing, and I'm even in the back of the tent. So that's great. So we're coming to the end of the Orbital performance now, and I think I hear the 3 tones that I've been hoping for this entire time. And sure enough, it's Halcyon, On and On. And so as soon as I hear it, I pull out my phone and I'm like, oh my god, I can die a happy man now. Orbital is playing Halcyon. And then I hashtag it VMX Voodoo Music Experience 2013. Literally, I am a happy camper. That was the one song I wanted to hear all day, and I finally heard it. And then I remember, you know who else just loves this song and who saw Mortal Kombat with me back in 1994? It's my brother, but he lives in New Mexico now. So what I would love to do is share this experience with him in real time, because I know they're 2 hours behind us out there. So I fire up the Justin TV app, and this one broadcasts stunning HD quality to anyone that subscribes to your channel. You see I have 8 viewers right now. We're about 5.5 minutes into this Halcyon performance, and I'm loving it. So my brother, he's just ecstatic that I'm able to share this moment with him in real time, thanks to this Justin TV app. Now, that's the last performance of the day. I'm leaving City Park. I'm walking back to my shuttle, and then I get this group message app from GroupMe saying, guess what? Trent Reznor is doing a secret show at Dragon's Den down in the Quarter later this evening. Don't tell everyone, but tell your closest friends. There's probably a limited capacity of about 100 seats in there. So if you want to go see Trent Reznor do a secret set by himself, and for those who are unfamiliar, he's of Nine Inch Nails fame, kind of the industrial era, early 90s, from New Orleans, but became very popular worldwide. So you know what? I'm going to go see Trent Reznor. I'm just going to top off this Voodoo Music Experience 2013 in proper form. So I go see Trent Reznor at the Dragon's Den, and then I go home. Okay, or maybe I'm at a hotel that year. And then I finally get back to Texas, and I look at my iPhone, and I've got all these really great photos. And I've got some pretty cool video clips as well. And I remember that on the Voodoo Fest website, they mentioned that if you edit together a really cool montage and upload it to their website within the next week, and they'll judge it the week after that, you could win a 3-day pass to Voodoo Fest 2014. So I'm like, all right, I got a decent shot of this. I got to see some Master P and Trombone Shorty and John Digweed and a little Orbital in there. I think I can mash this up pretty well. So I do. So I submit it that day. And then I go over to iTunes, and they have actually put all the audio and video recordings of every performance up on there for purchase. So I can download that John Digweed set for $9.99. It's a 2-hour performance. I can see that Trombone Shorty performance. You know, this is professional videography, up close, pristine quality. I get that for 20 bucks. So I can have that on my Apple TV or listen to it on my Mac when I'm at work. And I'm loving this. All right, this is the dream realized for me as a music fan. Now, I've walked you through this kind of fictional example of what mobile tech can do for you 2 years from now. And let's think about, you know, for an audience member, a fan, an artist, and a promoter, how each of those examples I gave were representative of capturing the moment, sharing the moment, and enhancing the moment. So capturing the moment's pretty obvious, right? Like I captured a lot of footage. I waved my iPhone 6 over the NFC to meet Master P. I was able to share the moment in real time with my brother, thanks to Justin TV. Enhance the moment. I didn't have to wait in line for my po' boy and hurricane. I could see that heat map to know that I didn't have to be waiting in foot traffic for a while. So had I not been equipped with that phone, my experience would have been fundamentally different. Like, it would have literally been a different experience. So it's by virtue of having that really technologically advanced device and the convergence of that with really, really well-written software that allowed me to have a great time. So let's talk about where's the opportunity. So you know that this sounds great, right? You would like to be involved with this. Everyone would love to meet Master P. So how do we make that happen? Where's the opportunity? So the first thing that I perceive is you need to embrace mobile and don't restrict it. Just like I mentioned in my example of the House of Blues, to where they wouldn't let me bring in a digital camera, you know, policies evolve over time, and sometimes people go kicking and screaming when the technology is forcing them to change. That is one way of doing it.